Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the pod. Today I am doing a reintroduction of who I am, my background, and who I help. I have some new people hanging out with me in my world, and I wanted to do like an updated one of these for those new people who didn't scroll all the way back to the beginning and listen to my second episode where I talk about my background. Or maybe it's my first, honestly. I don't even remember. It's one of the early episodes. But today we're going through it again, reintroduction. So we are just going to dive right on in. So I started CrossFit in 2012. That is where my story really begins in my introduction into the fitness world and what brought me into coaching. So my background growing up, I was a dancer. I was always active and worked out, but I did not know anything about strength training or how to lift weights or how to lose weight. And I was somebody who struggled with body image my whole growing up years, pretty much. The first time that I remember being self-conscious about my body was in the 8th grade. That's when I started thinking that I was quote unquote fat. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was actually wrong with me? But that is when I remember. And so like I said, I grew up a dancer. So you're in a tight clothes all the time, leotard and tights. Everybody's obsessed with being super small and super skinny. I always had a more muscular build, so I was always really jealous of the girls who were like toothpicks and were super skinny. So had a lot of body image issues growing up. I pursued dancing until, until 2012. Like it was the same year that I wasn't going to be dancing anymore and only teaching. I started teaching dance when I was 16. And so anyways, not going to be dancing anymore. How am I going to stay in shape type of situation? I got sick of going to the gym. I was that person who would do those like 2 workout classes a day, try to burn as many calories as possible to earn my food. Then a CrossFit gym opened up really close by to where I was living. I would drive by it all the time, saw people throwing around weights, running outside, doing all these things, and I give it a quick Google, like, what is CrossFit? And the things that came up was I saw a lot of women who were muscular and strong as hell, and I was like, I think I might be able to be good at CrossFit. So I went, try it, loved strength training, and I say all the time that strength training saved me, and it really did, because for the first time I was not worried about burning as many calories as possible or about being as small as possible. I wanted to be as strong as possible, and I wanted to learn how to fuel my body so that I could feel better in these workouts. I wanted to do a pull-up. I wanted to lift, 200 pounds from the floor. Like I started having this major mindset shift that was like the opposite of anything I had ever known up until that point. And it was so life-changing for me. And from then on, I knew I wanted to have a career in coaching, a career in fitness. I just didn't know what that was going to look like. So this was at this time, coaching full-time was not a thing unless you were a gym owner. Everybody I was talking to was like, yeah, coaching is more of like a side thing. Like people don't really do that full time. And I was like so confused by this because I thought coaching was so powerful. I'm like, we literally changed people's lives and you're telling me there's no way to do this full time unless I open a facility. Like, I don't really believe that. Like, and so I always had it in my head. It's like, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to be able to like make this my career. And so I began coaching all the time, getting as much experience as I could, learning from coaches who were better than me, and just really learning how to do this, or like how to coach people. So started out with coaching CrossFit group class. Over the years, got jobs at different gyms to get more experience. And along the way, I also got certified for nutrition coaching because I also realized that nutrition was a huge part of the equation when it came to actually changing people's bodies. So this went on. I did that for 7 years, the first 7 years of my career. I was coaching a bunch of CrossFit group class, nutrition coaching, trying to figure out like how to balance all these things, picked up other side jobs too, because I was only making $20 per group class. But anyways, so kind of fast forward, like at the 6 year, or I guess either the 6 or 7 year mark, I can't remember exactly at this point, I got really burnt out of in-person coaching because all I was doing was group class. And there was also this element in the background of my brain to where like I could only help people to a certain level, okay? Lots of clients would come in with knee pain, back pain, overhead issues, and all I knew how to do was modify, okay? But I did not know how to like solve these people's problems. And I would see these people come into the gym consistently week after week and just like not see any progress. And over time, their body would feel worse. And I was like, this is weird because people join the gym to feel better. Like, why are people starting to feel worse? Like, I know they have these mobility issues, but like, I don't really know what to do about it, so like I was frustrated by that because I've always been somebody who like, I want to help people get to like the root cause of why they're feeling the way they are and like attack it from there, right? I hated the idea of like throwing these band-aids at people when I knew it really wasn't going to solve the actual problem. So there was like that playing in the background mixed with like being burnt out, not making any money, coaching all the time on the floor. I was like, I need a break. So then I went all in on nutrition coaching remotely, got a job with a really big company, and started working fully remote and coaching full time. Oh my gosh, coaching full time. I was finally doing it. And at that point, I started to move around a little bit because I never wanted to live in Georgia. So once I started working fully remote, I started to do that. And I loved the flexibility that being fully remote brought me because I could live wherever I wanted. I could work whenever I wanted as long as I got my stuff done. So I'm really grateful for that season that went on for 3 years. And during that time, I had a roster of over 100 nutrition coaching clients. Yes, you heard me right, over 100. And it was really draining. And I was also mentoring coaches who would get certified to become nutrition coaches. So I was like, had all these clients, was mentoring these nutrition coaches. And I was making more than I ever had doing coaching, but it was still not enough to be comfortable. So then I was like still stressed over this like looming money stress, but I didn't have really any time to figure out like, how am I ever going to transition out of this and make more money and feel better? But anyways, as hard as that season of my life was, I'm grateful for it because it got me a lot of experience working with a lot of different types of people in a short amount of time. And so I got better really fast because I had no other choice. And so I really grew a lot as a coach during that time. And let's see, at this point, we're kind of around 2020, okay? The year 2020, I know for a lot of people, they were like slowing down because of the pandemic, but I was already ahead of the curve. I was already working remotely, so nothing really changed for me. And so until I broke my ankle, so kind of going along with like this being a super high stress time in my life, I ended up breaking my ankle, and that was really the catalyst for me making a change into like having a better life, but also finding like how I really wanted to help people. So had this ankle break, had to have surgery, went through physical therapy, And I got, I had like 4 weeks of physical therapy, and then they're like, okay, you're good to go. You like just got off your crutches. You can just ease back into the gym. And I was like, are you kidding me? I started crying. Like, I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I can barely walk and you're telling me that I can just go back into the gym and like start strength training? Like, what? I felt like there was a huge gap that I was missing with like being cleared from physical therapy and then like truly being prepared to go back to how I was training before. I was strength training, 4 days a week, heavy, hard. Like, I was like baffled. In like, on the other side of the coin is like, I've been in the fitness industry for 7 years, 8 years at this point, and it's like, I don't know what to do with myself. I know that if I go to a gym, they know how to modify for me, but I know that they aren't going to know how to fix my issues and make sure I don't break my other ankle, because that was my worst fear, is breaking my other ankle with the same injury. And that's actually common with the type of injury that I've had. And I was like, I never want to go through this again. And like, I want to do this rehab right. So that led me down a rabbit hole of researching kind of like what to do, like with my own rehab. And I came across this company called Active Life, where they specialize in helping the person who is in that gap of like, okay, you maybe did rehab for your injury, but you're not quite to where you want to be to get like back into the gym like you're used to. So got myself a coach to help me with my own rehab, but also they had education for coaches. So I ended up going through this 16 months of education taught by physical therapists, training me how to help this person, because it was like a gut feeling. I was like, this is how I really make a career out of this, because nobody does this and you can charge more for it. And like, I knew that if you niched down and helped a more specific type of person, like that was what was going to work in the coaching industry. And so anyways, go all in on this. I don't have the money to do it, but I commit to it anyways, because it's like, I don't have an option. And at that point, I was also drowning in medical bills from my ankle surgery. And I was like, I literally have no other options. And so that is what I did. And I did not have a life for a long time, because I was still working that job, working with, over 100 clients. Had my mentoring nutrition coaches that I was also doing, and I was working 7 days a week, like crazy hours, to just build this thing up to a point where I could go to my business. So I end up being able to do this pretty quickly. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm still going to do nutrition coaching, but only with a very specific person, and have it be like an add-on to the people who I'm going to be working with in pain. And so niche down to that. And let's see, at this point, this is like April of 2021. And so a couple months into just doing my business, I ended up getting a job offer from a gym in North Carolina where they worked with a specific type of client, the person dealing with pain, the person who is struggling with injuries. And I decided to take that job because I wanted the experience. I wanted the experience of helping this type of client in person. Even though I knew the ultimate goal was to be fully remote, I knew that I needed more hands-on experience with a specific type of client in order for me to be effective being fully remote one day. I am a full believer that if you coach people online, you cannot skip the step of training people in person. You just cannot. And I know that there's conflicting opinions on that, but I am going on my 12th year of coaching, and I still believe that. The only reason I'm able to get people the results online is because I have so much in-person experience. But anyways, so take that job in North Carolina, start doing a lot of sessions in person, helping this person struggling with injuries. Did that for a year, and while at the same time I was maintaining my business on the side. And And then also throughout that year, I met my now husband, Patrick, when I was living there. And it ended up, he got a job transfer. And so I ended up leaving the gym, going back to working fully remote, and so that I can move with him. So let's see, there was that. And then shortly after that, I ended up getting a job with a company to mentor coaches who were going through this ALP education, and still maintained my business during this time. But I also took that job and did that for 2 years because, again, I knew I wanted to help also coaches who wanted to help clients in this way. So got a lot of really good experience mentoring coaches in my niche during that time, which was super helpful too, because like throughout this, my whole coaching career, I've like always had this end term or long-term vision and like what I wanted my business to look like. My journey has just been kind of zigzag to get there because opportunities have come up. And even if I know it's not like the long-term thing, I know that it is a crucial role in getting to where I want to be. So, and I think that's like really important to point out, especially if you are a newer coach, is like just know that like your journey to get to your, quote unquote end goal of like ideal coaching situation, like there's going to be a zigzags, turns, twists, but like that's part of the journey. And as long as it aligns with where you want to be eventually, then just be along for the ride. But anyways, so that brings me to pretty much current. I mean, in last winter, I went all in on my business. And so this year, even though I've been in business for 4 years, this was like the first year that I had been like all in, and like this is the only thing that I'm doing. And it's been really cool to see because like I'm finally doing my business full time and it's being my full-time income. It's always been like my side thing, but this was the year I was like, I'm doing it. And it's gone really well. But anyways, so like that kind of brings me up to speed to where I'm at in my business now and the type of people that I serve. So I still work with clients who are dealing with pain or mobility issues. I have a lot of people on my roster who are runners and they also strength train, but they're kind of dealing with these nagging injuries, and their ultimate goal is to get back to running and to be able to run and strength train and do those things pain-free. So I have a lot of those types of people on my rosters. I have some CrossFitters on my roster who want to avoid injuries or like are rehabbing an injury. And so I'm still helping that type of client. And also quite a few people on my roster for programming are coaches, because there is an alarming amount of coaches who are dealing with pain because they ignore their issues and then they eventually get injured. So I really do like working with coaches a lot, whether it be for programming or mentoring them and helping like educate them on how to serve their clients better, because there is a very large gap in the coaching industry between when you get certified, like you're just done, right? And then they're like, okay, go coach your clients, go be excellent. But it's like, then you just kind of lost and it's like, good luck, have fun, right? And I have found so much value in my coaching career of like mentors, like mentoring me and like getting advice on actually what I'm doing with clients and like giving me an extra set of eyes to help, like, oh, have you thought about it from this perspective, or have you thought about it this way? And that is a big part of my growth, and there's not many people helping coaches actually do that right now. It is kind of alarming that there's so many coaches out there who actually have never even been mentored themselves on their craft. Okay, I'm not talking about going to hire a business coach. I'm talking about you actually getting a mentor to help you be a better coach. There's not that much of that. So I have a few coaches that I mentor in that way. We work on client case studies. I have a group program where I educate coaches on how to help people who are in pain, how to program for them, how to test, how to assess, because again, that's a big missing link in a lot of certifications, and coaches don't know how to do it. And that's a problem because it's 2024 and a lot of people are in pain. Like I have people in their late 20s, I would say mid to late 20s. Once you start your career, like as a young adult, I would say that's when your lifestyle really changes. And a lot of times, you're dealing with more stress, you're not moving as much, like things add up, and a lot of people are dealing with nagging pain, and a lot of coaches don't know what the heck to do about it. And like you can help a client, get in shape, change their body, do strength training, but if that person can't get rid of their back pain, they're eventually probably going to leave you because their back pain is not going to go away, right? And so it's like you can easily help somebody's back pain feel better, like through their strength training. It's like mixing strength training with a little bit of rehab and corrective exercise. Like that is what a lot of people need, but a lot of coaches do not know how to do it. And I want to be one of the first who is helping coaches do this, because it's like, I just think it's so important. And yeah, so that is my rant of my background of who I am, who I help. And I hope that you enjoyed this and kind of like get to know me a little bit more. So let me know if you liked this or enjoyed this. Send me a DM on Instagram, AshleyCrocker127. Also subscribe to the podcast if you are not already. And I will talk to you next week. I'm super excited because I have a lot of things coming down the pipeline for November and December. So keep your eyes out. That's a really good time to get on my email list, because my email list finds out first these things that I am releasing, and they get the best prices. So if you want to get on my email list, DM me on Instagram your email and I will add you. I have things coming out for active people who are dealing with pain, but also coaches, and helping you guys being able to program better. So keep an eye out, and thanks for being here.